Good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to welcome you all to the 13th edition of Apeejay Kolkata Literary Festival. The Apeejay Kolkata Literary Festival is Kolkata's first and India's only literary festival curated by one of the oldest heritage bookstores in the nation, the Oxford Bookstore. At AKLF, we celebrate the literary, cultural, and intellectual spirit of the literary world with the finest creative minds in the nation and globally. In today's session, Immunity, our survival kit, we have with us the most known and trusted face from gastronomy and food, Chef Sanjeev Kapoor. For a nation that loves to eat and cook, Sanjeev Kapoor is very close to its people's hearts. He is an Indian chef, TV host, entrepreneur, and author of several best-selling cookbooks. Chef Kapoor has been awarded the prestigious Padma Shri Award in 2017. The Government of India conferred on him the National Award of the Best Chef of India. We also have with us the global leading holistic health guru, Dr. Mehta, who has completed 51 years of yoga and a span of 40 years of the professional run. He has bagged prestigious awards like the Health and Wellness Icon by the Economic Times and was amongst the 100 most impactful wellness leaders of the world announced at the Global Wellness Conclave. We have the managing editor of the Indo-Asian News Service, INS, Sourish Bhattacharyya. He's a co-author of the upcoming Companion to India Food to be published by Bloomsbury, UK, and the co-founder of the Tasting India Symposium. Over to Sourish ji to take the conversation forward.
Thank you so much, Neeta, and welcome my two very special guests and co-conversationists. Chef Sanjeev Kapoor, one knows for years, and one has respected him all these years and seen him on television and in print and in person. Welcome, Chef Kapoor and Dr. Miki Mehta. One has read about you and never got the opportunity of meeting you. It's really a privilege to meet someone who's a wellness guru. Just yesterday, I think 75 lakh Indians did the Surya Namaskar on the occasion of Makar Sankranti. So you must be a very happy man. We'll talk about that later. And I'm very pleased to talk about this book, Immunity Plus. If you haven't got this book, please get it now because it combines the wisdom of two very well-known and very well-respected people. And it is very relevant in today's time. I will not steal the thunder of my pastor. I'll ask you to talk about that more. Let me put in a word, a personal word, that Oxford Bookstore is something I've seen for years. And Chef Kapoor, you might be pleased to know that it's also a purveyor of good food and great chai, apart from books and conversations. So those of you who haven't yet visited Oxford Bookstore, I'm aware of the ones in Delhi and Kolkata. I'm sure they're having branches elsewhere. Please do visit Oxford Bookstore and pick up this copy. I'm not being paid to promote this book, but I've read it and I really love it. Okay, I'll begin with Chef Kapoor. How did you and Dr. Mehta team up? Was it only for this book, or have you done things in the past?
Right. Thank you, Suresh. Thank you very much. Very happy to be part of this Apeejay Kolkata Literary Festival. And you mentioned Oxford Bookstore. I have very fond memories of Oxford Bookstore because not only I have visited Oxford Bookstores in different parts of India, but we have done very good launches for our books at Oxford Bookstores. And it's unlike any other bookstore. It's a place that you can completely immerse in. It's beautiful, and of course, you can spend your time reading from the books. You can have great things to drink and eat there. So great experience. So thank you to the literary festival being organized by Apeejay Group and Oxford Bookstore. thank you for having us here. And Suresh, I've had the privilege of meeting and speaking with you, and your body of work in space of food is something which has made you somebody who can be not only very well respected, but you're considered somebody who people take inspiration from and learn from. So thank you for doing this for us. And I think whether you get paid or we get paid or anybody gets paid or nobody gets paid, but I think this book, if I were to say, it is something which is, I would say, it's a need of not just the hour, maybe the conversations are happening more because we have been hit by this pandemic. But immunity is something, I think if we kept our ears to the ground and if we knew what was happening, how it would impact our lives, we would have easily stayed away from this, or we would have managed this pandemic well. But we take our life not that seriously. Hence, need for books like this, need for information like this. And I must tell you, the idea, the whole thought of this germinated from Mickey. It's not something which I said that, oh, here, let's do this. It came from him. And when it came to me, it was already in terms of material. There was lots of material that was already created. I just put a little bit of embellishment in terms of food that people can use it with. But the whole thought, the whole passion, the whole I would say the construct of the book, it's Mickey's thought.
And it's interesting, that he brought in a chef to talk about what we primarily see as a medical issue. Chef, I'll come back to you. I'll just pan to Dr. Mehta. I just, so Dr. Mehta, everyone today talks about immunity. In fact, being in the news business every day, I wake up reading about COVID and Omicron. On average day, I clear about 25 to 40 stories on the two subjects. And one reads about spike proteins and immunity and antibodies, this, that, and the other. So, Dr. Mehta, why is this book today so relevant? And what is it that it contains, which belongs to our yogic and Ayurvedic traditions?
The history goes around way back in 2019, early 2019. I met Adar Poonawalla for some work on wellness, and he asked me to do a lot of work on immunity. He said, if you do something on immunity, I'll be very interested. And fortunately, I had met Alirani much earlier, and coincidentally, we were working on immunity. So there was a research paper, which we wrote together called Immunity for Humanity with Nanavati Hospital and Dr. Alirani, which got published by the United Grants Commission.
University Commission.
University Grants Commission. Where such things are concerned. I'm very good at this.
You're good at everything.
Then I bounced this idea off to a very, very common friend of ours, Sanjeev and myself. We know a gentleman called Mr. Harsha Bhatkal. So he is the promoter of popular Prakashan. So I told him that I want to make this into a book, and I already have a lot of material, and the research material could go into a book format. And I said this book will be incomplete if we don't rope in the gleam of nutrition. So Sanjeev, as you hear, is just not a chef. I mean, in reality, he's a food scientist. I mean, he may not be, I don't know, qualified as one, but he beats every other food scientist because his perception of taste, his knowledge of ingredients, and his whole understand of nutrients, when it comes together, how they need to be presented, and regional, seasonal, philosophy, spirituality, science, everything packaged in one. So I said, that is why Chef Sanjeev Kapoor. So you said, no, why Chef Sanjeev Kapoor? Which is why Chef Sanjeev Kapoor? And yes, of course, he jumped to the idea, because nutrition and immunity was the need of the hour and need of the world. And lots of us do a lot of work, sometimes not for only ROI, but, when we self-realize our purpose and to contribute to this universe for the upliftment of mankind. I mean, this may sound very much like a Miss India stage dialogue, but it's very true when it comes to professionals like us. We really want to give it back to the society of lot.
I'll cut in here and ask you one thing, and then, I'll come to Chef also and ask him the same question. We all, Ayurveda has always talked about the relationship between food and health, the overall well-being of people, and you are sort of packaging that with the backing of modern science and, what this awareness about how food and immunity are related. For the layperson, how will you link the two? And, what do we do in our daily lives which reduces our immunity, and how can we enhance the immunity? I know you can write an entire book on this, another book on this, but, if you were to give it in bullet points, what are they?
So is it for me?
Yeah. I'll begin with you, then move to the chef.
So, what reduces and, destroys our immunity is our forgetfulness on breathing. Breath is fundamental to life. Staggered breath, erratic breath, scattered breath, shallow breath, and less frequency of breath, and unconscious breath, all mars your immunity. Now, the opposite. Regulated breath, conscious breath, deep breath, rhythmic breath triggers your immunity because it moves your diaphragm, it fills up your lungs, it empties your toxins, your T cells and B cells are triggered. There's oxygen in the blood, the digestion improves only with breath. So breath is primary, then mobility, creative mobility, movement therapy. Whether you call it yoga, whether you call it functional training, whether you call it calisthenics, I call it creative, functional training or creative mobility or creative movement therapy. That is very important, very well calibrated, graceful postures and poetry. Shouldn't be a punishment, should be a celebration. Workout should never be a punishment. Thereafter, then of course, we come to the most integral part of life, which we do 3-4 times a day. That is food. Now, food and Ayurveda were synonymous few thousand years back, but as the modernization of this world happened, food and Ayurveda became different because food got more refined, more processed, more industrialized. So food got, completely separated from Ayurveda. So, the father of medicine, Hippocrates, once said, let thy food be thy medicine. He had a need to say that because the society was deviating, withering away towards the junk, towards nonsensical ways of eating and nonsense food eating. So bringing Sanjeev Kapoor on board was with the science of understanding of nutrition, immunity, taste not being compromised, most importantly, and philosophy of food weaved in with the human evolution.
Yes, and
so the food came in. Then, of course, rest is also very, very important because when the life oscillates to activity, it has to oscillate back to passivity. So meaningful rest is what heals your body. And when you are in deep sleep, it is said that when you are in the Turiya Avastha, in the Brahma Muhurat, that is the time the body has completely, the body is done with digesting all your food, assimilating all your food, and putting it into the elimination pipeline. And you sleep the deepest in those 2 hours, and the body restores, rejuvenates, and literally regenerates cellularly in those 2 hours. So this is the whole point of the immunity.
Right. Chef Kapoor comes in a very critical moment in this process. You talked about deep breathing, and you talked about, of course, creative movement. We'll come back more on that. but the thing that we do 3 or 4 times a day, and where we can go horribly wrong, that's where Chef Kapoor comes in to set us right.
Yeah.
So, Chef, tell us what in your view are the critical principles of Ayurveda that we must remember and incorporate in our daily lives. In fact, I must say you have one of the richest libraries of Ayurvedic texts or food texts with you. We'll talk about that too. But what have you gleaned from these texts and this knowledge over the years?
Sure. I think Mickey has covered everything, the main things that are there. So the beauty of food is what whether it's Ayurveda or whether it is common knowledge of today, I think nothing has changed. It's timeless. Nothing has changed. The knowledge has not changed. It's just that we have not followed that knowledge that is there. So if we were to look at basic of universal truths, if we were to say, everybody knows what the universal truths are in everything. And it's just not about food. It is about whether it's honesty, whether it's about hard work, whether it is about discipline. Everything is known. Same is the case in food. We don't need Sanjeev Kapoor, we don't need Mickey Mehta to say that which is better between samosa and salad. We don't need it. Everybody knows it. So the knowledge is, if we were to look at the most simple, basic knowledge, whether it is there in Ayurveda or not, everything is known. It's not that people don't know. People know. Books like these, whether they are written 5,000 years ago or whether they are written now, they're just reminders. They're knock on the door. Hey, listen, this is what you should follow, right? So I think the basic principles, Ayurveda is, I would say, more evolved because it's actually for each person. It's a way of life for each person. Who that person is, you define, that is defined, and what food is good for you. But that can get a little bit more complicated. I would try to keep this more generic and simple. So I would say that if I were to look at what kind of food would be healthy, which would provide greater immunity to largest set of people, would be food that is fresh, food that is in season, food that is local. These 3 things, if we keep, and then we say that have things which are local, fresh, and in season, and have them in moderation. And just live your life with all the principles that Mickey talked about, mobility, breathing, proper rest, and these foods in moderation. Game over. You don't really need to do anything else. But do we do it?
That is a challenge.
The key. That is the key. So this things like these sessions, books, they're just reminders. We know, it's just that we become so good at procrastination that we say that, okay, yeah, I know it. I will start following it from tomorrow. I'll start following it from the new year. I will do, and it's just that our body is so kind, so resilient that we can keep on abusing, and then we feel that, oh, now I need instant results. So 25, 30, 40 years of abuse, we say in 3 months, I will lose 20 kilos. How can that happen? All that abuse was gradual. The correction, you can accelerate, but you cannot say that I'll set unrealistic target. That's why realism is important. That's why so there is no secret here. Let me tell you, there is no secret. Yes, of course. So balanced food, do we know? Of course we know we know that. Fresh food, we know that. Packaged food, you should not have it. So anything where food, if the life of food is long, typically I say your life would be shortened. If you have extended the life of food, you are shortening your life. So decide what you want to do. Right?
It's a very, very important lesson. I think if the life of the food is long, which means if it is packaged, then it actually reduces your lifespan, you know.
Yeah, that's why freshness come into play. So freshness
and seasonality, you know?
Seasonality. And then, of course, who you are, their specific needs, right? But that, I think, I would say 95, or actually not even 95, 99% of the battle is won if we follow the generic rules. Also, individual, of course. See, if there are individual problems, typically there is help that is sought. You go to specialists, you go to doctors, and you know what to do. Again, you have to still come back to the same thing. You still have to follow, right? But largely, 99%, all the boring things in life that we have heard while growing up, if we start following it, it's that easy. But that's the most difficult thing to do. Things that are easy, we take them for granted. A monument which is close to where you live, you say, oh, I can go at any time because it's just here. Qutub Minar in Delhi. I live in Delhi, no problem.
This is a nearer to church, farther to God.
That's right. That's what it is.
So Dr. Mehta, you know, I'll take off from what Chef Kapoor said, you know, when you're abusing your body for your entire lifetime and then you expect results in 3 months, you know, you're setting an unrealistic target for yourself, but you're seeing immunity revitalize in 28 days and you've actually given a 28-day plan, you know. How is it possible to revitalize in 28 days? Dr. Mehta, please, what is the medical thought behind it?
As much it could be perceived very complex, and yes, it is difficult, but when commitment, discipline, inclination, and need of the hour knocks at the door, then things could be put in a very structured way, and the beginning of that euphoric way of life could be made possible. So why we say 28 days? Because we put a 4-week program in place. So we've given you 4 weeks of very healthy nourishment. We've given you 4 weeks of movement therapy, and we've calibrated it and we've scaled it up gradually. I've given you 4 weeks of breathing techniques. I've given you 4 weeks of meditation, 4 weeks of japa, mantra, and 4 weeks of rest and affirmations, visualizations, etc. But let me tell you one thing, that the British colonial rule literally disintegrated our civilization, our sabhyata, our Sanatan Dharma. So the imperial medicine influence, they destroyed Ayurveda and discredited it very systematically. So our gehu became Mehta, Gud became Shakkar, and our ghee became tel. Okay, our yoga became PT. So immunity was lost then. And of course, so India itna saksham tha immunity mein, and India was so deep rooted in the science of well-being that we literally didn't have to discuss immunity. See, people who discuss health are the ones who don't have them. So we didn't have to discuss immunity, wellness, health. It's only when you're bereft of it, you want it, you have a desperate need for it, you hanker for it, you discuss it. So Britishers left us high and right, divided, they left us refined, they left us processed, they left us industrialized, and we lost our natural connect. So yoga and food typically connects us with the ground. So in yoga also, we become one with the gravity. We are not fighting the gravity. But if you see in all the Occidental exercises, you're fighting the gravity, which is why it depletes you of energy. It doesn't replenish your energy. Yoga replenishes your energy. Yoga recreates you, recreates you, rejuvenates you. But all Occidental exercises, they are high intensity. So they are the vipreet, absolutely opposite.
Right.
Similarly, with food, Ayurveda connected us to the earth. We had food which danced in the sun. So we had natural sun, radiance, and jubilance. So wisdom came to us, intellect came to us. Then the natural water from the earth, that came to us. Then the vitality and the minerals of the earth. Then the food experiencing the movement of the planets and the suns and the stars. That wisdom got translated into food, natural food. So that came to us. So Britishers destroyed everything systematically, and modernization thereafter.
But Dr. Mehta, the issue is today, we have an agricultural system which is completely dependent on fertilizers. We have a food system which still, despite so much knowledge, so much like so much of propagation of the good knowledge, I would say, it's still heavily dependent on packaged foods, on refined flour, refined sugars, refined oils. So how do we reverse this trend? It's like it requires more than a revolution to just change all this and to achieve what you call immunity, or immunity plus.
I think Sanjeev is more qualified to answer this because
I'll come to him. Yeah. Okay. So, Chef Kapoor, you tell
very,
us.
very valid, Sourish. I think it is. I think it's the pandemic is nothing. The whole internationalization of society at large. There are many things. So any progress that happens, it happens at some cost. There's a trade-off. But in food, what we have suffered, the trade-off is something which is of a scale which is a menace. I would say that the whole business of food, the way it has in last, and I would say largely it is last 100 years. And it's global. It's not just India, right? India is we just have been aping the West, right, in everything, and that's what in last 50 years largely we did that, barring maybe last 4 or 5 years. And I think from now on, right, we will start to become better. So in a society, जब आपका पेट भरा हुआ नहीं होता है, then all the good things. So first you fill up your plate. You don't see whether its food is hygienic, whether it's clean, whether it is healthy. You first fill up your stomach. And I think that's where once we start to reach that point, we'll start to evolve again. 350 years ago, we didn't have this issue. Our GDP was great. We were rich. Everything was there, right? We became poor. We didn't have food to eat. So to look after ourselves, filling our stomach was more important than whether it was right food or not. And even in growth, what we were growing, why would we looking at more from that piece of land? And our whole policies on agriculture, we know it, the way we have abused our land, not just earth. In India, if we were to look, we have completely abused it. I think we will start to correct it. And about in the last 2 years, we've been filming different ingredients all across India. And I can tell you, there are small farmers, there are large corporates who are trying to do. It may not move the needle in next couple of years, but my guess is in next 10 to 15 years, we'll be able to move the needle in India. We will be able to.
Yes, Chef, the classical challenge has been between food security, which is a situation which led us to adopt the Green Revolution, phase 1. Yeah. And now, of course, the challenge has become nutritional security, how to extract good nutrition out of the food that is served to us. So which brings me, specifically to your profession, the profession of chefs, because you are very important today. Not only as purveyors of food, but also purveyors of good knowledge, sound knowledge of food. You're no longer seen as the old-fashioned bawarchi. That now you're seen as people who actually contribute to the knowledge of society. So now, how have the chefs adapted to this change? Because, even there was a time when chefs used to, relish, serving you processed food or imported food, or, they used to say, oh, I've got so many imported ingredients on my list and all that. Now, all that is changing, but is it changing fast enough? What is your opinion on this?
Yeah, so very valid point, Sourish. Good thing is that the in-home consumption of food, chefs have a large role to play in bringing in the trends. So in-home consumption, trends come in from out-of-home dining, which chefs control, right? And there, I think they are becoming very, very sensible, and especially the younger lot. They are embracing our own. So the whole millet movement, you look at the top restaurants in our country, they are embracing those ingredients. They are going the organic way. They are talking about farm to plate concepts. So all that dissemination, all those of information and all those conversations will lead to consumption. And chefs have a very large role to play. They are becoming more responsible. They understand that people are listening to them. And I'm very, very happy with the young crop of chefs who are coming into this field by choice, not just because they couldn't get anything else. So they came into hotel management and then became chefs. So now passion is coming into play. And that's a very good sign, and I'm very happy with the younger lot. So I think we will have to see a balance between taste and nutrition, because in minds of the eater, consumer, diner, you say health, and people see it as no taste. So as soon as so chefs can bridge that gap.
Right.
So chefs. First thing is people see taste, but if we can bring that nutrition smartly, which I think many chefs are doing today. I think that's a good beginning.
So now, Dr. Mehta, you were saying something. Yes, please.
So I need to interject here. Yeah. So we must thank all our nutritionists and dietitians who are influencing people for the millet movement, for the raw sugar movement, for jaggery, for unrefined, unprocessed. So there are very good names that if you talk about the vegan movement, there is Neha Ranglani doing a lovely job. Rujuta Divakar made us very much eat Indian. Pooja Makhija came to natural eating. Luke Coutinho doing a fabulous job of nutrition and promoting nutrition in a way to make it a lifestyle and integrate it with your life. I mean, earlier people were looking down upon dietitians and they only use them for weight loss. Today, dietitians have become nutritionists, and nutritionists have scaled up in the coaching sphere. And they've brought in integrated life science into it. So these 3-4 people plus more, of course, not to mention our Anjali Mukherjee and the old veterans. But yes, these people have helped this revolution grow. So the demand in even the home and housewives for calling for such ingredients, Farmers Market, Sharan Movement, Kavita Mukhi, and Vijaya Venkat, Anju Venkat. Now these people have started supplying natural, organic cereals, salt, sugar, and fruits, vegetables, grains, and the availability is there. I mean, we must thank all the app makers also for making it very convenient. So I think this revolution is the revolution of the era. As much we feel that the digital era is taking us away, as much I feel we are on the cusp of the golden time. Because if you see the kind of philosophies that are floating around, Baba Ramdev is there, Sadhguru is there, Shrishi is there, Osho is there, they are all over us. So a kind of renaissance is happening, awakening is happening. And to add to it, we have channels like Food who tell you how to eat well, eat right, ingredients, make things well. So we are very grateful to the times, and we are very grateful to the nutritionists and the chefs to influence the housewives to bring about this
which actually, Dr. Mehta, brings me to the book, you have written one book, but how do you now plan to spin it off? You talked about apps, you talked about television channel. Do you plan to do you see this as moving forward in different directions?
So there were plans afoot with our publisher, Popular Prakashan, and maybe he's spoken to Harper's also to make this into a training module. So Immunity Plus, a 28-day program, can become a corporate training module whereby we initiate people into wellness. It's not a magic wand, but it's a starting point. And this starting point could well determine the endpoint destination of wellness, well-being, and evolution of mankind. So we plan to make this book a tool. Maybe Sanjeev had come up with some ideas to make digital programs for the same. And in fact, he's working with one particular company in Delhi, and hopefully we'll be shooting very soon. So these plans are afoot, and I'm sure they will see the light of the day because the movement itself has a good intent for social impact. We are repurposing our lives to impact as many humans as possible.
And it's interesting because I think COVID, and unfortunately, we are seeing the third surge of COVID. It has sort of woken us all up to all that we are talking about, whether it's organic food or deep breathing. Everything is sort of got an accelerated acceptance because of COVID. I think we are all looking for solutions, and as as the more we suffer, the more solutions we look for. Unfortunately, we only remember good things when we are facing bad times. The chef Kapoor, what will you do? I mean, to carry this forward. I think Dr. Mehta has given some great ideas. And also he's talked about the broad coalition of people who are going to push this movement forward. Now, Chef Kapoor, as a food professional, and you're as well as a nutritionist and and taste maker, what do you think? How can you lead this movement forward?
I think anything when the conversations start, that is the beginning. I think we are at that stage of infancy. We are where the conversations have started. Now it has to start converting into consumption. And that is something which I think will happen when 3-4 big, large corporates would come in. And I've seen a couple of corporates looking at it. I'm very closely involved with Tata Groups on their food thing. They are looking at the whole nutrition basket of products. So they would, the whole goodness they want to put forward. So, for example, I first started working with them a few years ago, about 6-7 years ago. And we are looking at, let's say, turmeric. And we talked that how turmeric in today's day and age, one of the best from immunity point of view. Turmeric is something which I think world has started to discover. Single most studied plant on earth today is turmeric, right? So that's the number of articles, number of research papers around it, number of product with that. How it can help in immunity. And I think all this, when more large corporates come in, who bring money, not just on products, but those products also create influence through information, through ads, through different mediums. Then that moment, that's when people start to consume, they start to become better, they start to feel it. See, immunity, we say immunity plus in 28 days because it's a whole program and you follow it diligently for 28 days, you will be inspired to use it. You say, oh, wow, this has changed me. You will internalize it. So we are hoping that the whole plan, which today is in infancy stage, I think these things, these are behavioral changes. They don't happen. It's like a Swachh Bharat, right? No matter what, the whole country comes in. It takes a prime minister of a nation, millions of dollars to create that movement. But should we say that, are we clean today? No. it's like a element which is starting to wake up or get up. That is what is happening with food also, the whole wisdom of food from India. And my hope is that in our lifetime, we will be able to see the fruits from or benefits of it in our lifetime.
That's very interesting. So, Dr. Mehta, I have got two very basic questions to you. Most of us procrastinate, and talking about deep breathing, most of us are a little apprehensive about it because the air is so polluted. So, can you please give two, common sense solutions to these very everyday problems of our lives?
Although your question is extremely logical, but many a times logic doesn't serve the purpose, because deep breathing in itself is important for lungs and your diaphragmatic movement and for your bioelectricity and your biochemistry, everything put together. Our nose and our lungs have the apparatus to filter it all. So we need to still deep breathe to charge our batteries from within. So our bioelectricity, our cardiovascular, cardiopulmonary activity needs deep breathing, period. So we don't...
How long in every day?
Now, so breathing as a discipline should happen while you work out every day. Now, breathing minus your workout could happen 3 to 4 times a day otherwise. So the first time when it is most imperative for you to breathe is when your body is starved of fresh oxygen post night sleep. So first thing in the morning, you get out to your doors, windows, balconies, take the rays of the sun, have breath for breakfast, take an air bath and soak yourself in the sun. So the sun touches you in, maximum exposure and the serotonin kicks in very well. So energy kicks in, heat kicks in, and most importantly, your creativity kicks in and your drive, enthusiasm for life kicks in. And most importantly, when you start breathing deeply, the vital capacity gradually goes up. So when you are asleep, your body doesn't breathe for more than maybe 10 to 12 times a minute. But when you're awake, your body breathes around 22 times a minute, staggered. But rhythmic breathing is your medicine. So when you exercise, you do rhythmic breathing. One more thing happens when you breathe rhythmic and in discipline is both your nostrils function together in tandem. When the breathing happens in tandem, all your systems are fired in tandem, orchestrated in tandem. So nervous system, endocrine system, digestive system, cardiopulmonary system, they all work together as an orchestra. Then your left and your right brain work in tandem. Otherwise, we breathe from left nostril to right nostril every 45 minutes, we switch. So in the mornings, the right nostril is dominant. And towards the evening, as we cool down, the left nostril is dominant. Now, this is determined by the circadian rhythm of the body. So the energies rise with sunrise and the energies ebb with the sunset. And the switch of the nostrils also determine the activity in the body, which is why the Jyotish always had a time and a muhurat to do creative activity. So when the sun is at its zenith, the right nostril is at its peak. Also, I would say the muhurats for wedding and thereafter copulation were determined by the time of the day, the season, etc., which were most conducive in being calm, composed, and breath being relaxed, composed, and I would say collected. So all this is a deep science, a part of Ayurveda, a part of Jyotish Vidya, a part of Yoga Vidya, Patanjali Sutras, everything put together. But the bottom line, simple verticals. That one is Ahar, Vihar, Vishram, Aushad. So when you say Ahar, it's not just food, everything that you consume. So even a good workout nourishes you. Fresh air nourishes you. A good night's sleep nourishes you. Sunshine nourishes you. A full moon and the phases of the moon nourish you. The stillness of the lake nourishes you. Expanse of the sky nourishes you. Everything that you mingle with triggers a counter response of the body from the elements Pancha Mahabhutas inside. That is how we correspond in energy. And the correspondence of energy is also, in a way, immunity. So, Sampurnata, Sampannata, Samruddhi, and most important, as per our Hindu Shastras, Samarpan. Yoga, which is a Samarpan. When we let go of all, the superconscious mind takes charge, and without our conscious clinical mind's interference, it reorganizes, realigns, bring order from ease from disease, and comfort from discomfort. And instead of moving towards entropy, we start moving towards, life force.
Fantastic. I think a brilliant summation of the philosophy of life, actually, and living. So, Chef Kapoor, you have always made food for the body. Now let's have some food for the mind. Food for the mind.
Sourish, on breath, I have a simple theory.
Right.
The day you are born, your breaths are limited. Now it's a choice that you make how fast you want to spend them. You spend them by taking them quickly, you go quickly. You take them slowly, you stay longer. It's a choice you make. It's as simple. Breaths are limited. How do you want to consume? Like a dog, live like a dog. Fast breathing or slow breathing. It's a choice you make. And that's what will make the difference. Very easy to remember. Okay?
Right.
Yeah, sorry. Interrupt.
No, it's absolutely, you made it, made a lot of sense. So, as I think we have to slowly wind down, what are some of your parting thoughts which you want to park with our viewers, and especially about food, because there's so many questions about food that one is confronted with in this modern day and age, What is your, were to encapsulate your wisdom in one or two sentences? Difficult.
Correct.
But how do you...
I think we don't over-intellectualize food. Keep it simple. I think that is the most important thing. What we have started to do is that we have started to make everything complicated. So again, go back to the basic food that is fresh, food that is in season, food that is locally grown is best for you. Have it in moderation. That is best for you. Don't overcomplicate the issue. Don't put stress because of food. Listen to your body. Body gives you signals. Listen to your body and react. Don't react. If you eat today, don't have your action. If there's something that has gone wrong, say that, oh, I will take this action 7 days later. No. You've overeaten. Next meal, eat little less. Next day, eat little less. React. If you have acted and that action has not gone in your favor, body has given you some signals, react and then don't accumulate all that wrongs and then hope that it'll happen. It's actually simple, but start acting now.
Good. I think that's a fantastic message. Dr. Mehta, some parting thought, and then we'll, go back to reading the book, the lovely book, Immunity Plus.
I would say that immunity, if you were to see scientifically and philosophically, so if you say, I am unity, is immunity. If you're total integrated, there is immunity into you. If you're divided, if you're living in the Dvait, then of course you're far away from immunity. If you're a part of the movement of Advait, then obviously you're integrated and you're immunity. The second thing I can say is, I am in tune, I am immune. So your unit rhythm getting synchronized with the unity rhythm, the universal rhythm, if that gets synchronized well, उसकी अगर तालमेल और लयबद्धता आ जाती है, तो आपकी immunity को 4 चांद लग जाएंगे.
Wow, fantastic! That's so good. So it's such a pleasure listening to really well-informed gentlemen talking about a subject which concerns all of us and which has become very important in the wake of our current biggest challenge to our immune system, I wish you very well, Dr. Mehta and Chef Kapoor. I hope Immunity Plus does very well. That's fantastic. I hope this book sells well and sells better, but more importantly, it informs and educates all of us and makes us act on the principles laid down in it. Thank you so much. Hope to see you soon.
One last thing.
Yeah, please.
This book will get you naturalized, immunized, and get you Mickey-mized.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay, thank you so much.